Hi everyone. Um, this video is like super surreal to be making right now, but I've had a lot of questions from people, and people are just interested, so I wanted to make a video about how I met Taylor Swift in her house this week. So basically, I believe it was October 7th, but I got a message from Taylor's management team on Twitter. And basically all it was saying was like that they had a confidential event they wanted to speak to me about, and they just asked for like my name, my phone number, and like when they could reach me. So I replied back to them with all that information immediately. It was the next night that someone from Taylor Nation actually called me, and they just kind of said, like, they introduced themselves and said they were from Taylor Nation, asked my name and stuff, like my email and all of that kind of thing. And then they told me that they had a special event that they wanted to invite me to, and it was in Rhode Island, and they asked if I would be able to get there on October 18th, which is when I met her this past week. And as soon as they asked if I could be in Rhode Island, I immediately like broke down into tears, and like my mom was actually in the living room with me, and she videotaped me like on the phone call. And I was an absolute mess because at first I didn't really know what they were messaging me about. Like, I kind of had an idea, but Taylor had done these secret sessions like for 1989, and she had like a bunch of fans come to her houses, and like she has a house in Rhode Island. So as soon as she asked me if I could be in Rhode Island, I immediately broke down and started bawling my eyes out because I had a pretty good idea like of what they were inviting me to. So after the phone call, not a whole lot happened between like then and leaving. A couple days before we did leave, they sent me like an email like with our secret meeting spot and just like kind of some more details before we had got there. The event was on a Wednesday, or this past Wednesday, and my mom and I left Tuesday. So we did drive there. We live in Ontario, kind of close to Toronto, so it took us about 9.5 hours to get there. Like, we obviously stopped for food and stuff. I was most excited about Olive Garden because we don't have Olive Garden here, so we stopped at Olive Garden on our way there, and it was probably the highlight of my trip. Sorry, Taylor. We woke up pretty early, and we wanted to have time to do some stuff before we had to go meet up with everyone. So we actually went kind of in, like, we went to Taylor's neighborhood during the day, and like I know where she lives, but I didn't know where exactly she lived. So like, driving down what I didn't know was her street at the time, but it was her street. So we were driving and we got to the top of this hill. There was a ton of security guards and like big ass gates that were like closed and locked, and I immediately like broke down into tears and started bawling my eyes out in the car because I knew it was our house and I knew we were going to be in there later, and I just couldn't handle it. So yeah, that was the first breakdown of the day. For everyone who doesn't know, Taylor lives in Watch Hill in Rhode Island, and it's actually right on a beach. There's like a beach area right in front of her house, but it's not her beach, it's a public beach, but it's right in front of her house. My mom and I took a walk down there, and we collected like sand and shells and stuff, and I was still kind of panicking because I could literally like see her house there. And then we went back to the meeting spot. They told us to be checked in by 3:30, so we were there like just shortly after 3. And there was already a lot of people there, but there was a lot of people kind of still coming too. So after everybody got all checked in and signed in and stuff, they had to like collect our ID and all of that kind of thing. We had to sign like confidentiality forms. So after all that, they put groups of, I believe it was 20 of us, into these like SUV van kind of things, and they drove us up to Taylor's house, which was just around the corner from where the meeting spot was. After everybody was checked and everything, they let us go upstairs into Taylor's like dining room, kitchen area. Like, she had cookies that had like rep on them. They were like sugar cookies. They were so good. She had like pizza and like cheese boards and like vegetables and like so much good stuff. As soon as you walk into our house, like I don't even know how to describe the smell of her house. Like, it smells like Christmas. After we had been kind of like just like mingling around for a little bit, like just kind of I believe it was still just like 2 groups of us that were there out of like everyone. Scott Swift, Taylor's dad, came down and he started giving everybody out guitar picks, because that's kind of his legacy. So he had pockets full of guitar picks and he was handing them out, and I got like 10 from him. I did pick some up from the floor. So it was really nice to hang out with him for that little bit. Mingling for quite a while. I want to say it was probably between like 1 to 2 hours that everybody who was invited, there was probably about 100 of us, we're just kind of like hanging out in like her kitchen and her like dining room area. They let us into this like living room area, and the way it was set up, they had like blankets all over the floor. They had like cushions, like throw pillows, all of that like on the floor for us to sit on. And then at the front of the room, they had this like big gorgeous chair, and there was like speakers and like a stand right beside it. And I was like, okay, that's where Taylor's gonna be. And I was a little bummed out because when we first got into the room, the girl who was kind of like motioning people where to go, she told my mom and I to like kind of go sit in the back corner, and I was like, I don't really want to sit in the back corner. But then we got there and there was another guy standing over there kind of directing people, and there wasn't a lot of room, so he like told us to go sit in the front corner, and I was like, I will go sit in the front corner, like I'm on my way. So that's where I was for like the listening session. Her house in Rhode Island is like, it's a little older, so it's not very soundproof, and she was wearing these huge high-heeled boots, and we could hear people walking around upstairs. We were like all just kind of like freaking out. Taylor came into the room and everyone started screaming and crying, including myself. I was bawling my eyes out. And then she introduced herself like she always does, because we obviously don't know who she is. We just all traveled to Rhode Island to come see her house and hang out with her, but we don't know who she is. So after she came in, she sat down in her chair and she was kind of just talking to us and introducing herself and saying hello to people. And then she started playing the album. Before she did end up playing the album, she did something kind of special for us, which I'm not allowed to talk about. But while she was doing it, she, like I said, I was sitting on kind of like her left side, like on the floor, like right in front of her. And she came over and she was actually sitting on the floor for this, and she was right beside me. And my heart like stopped as soon as she sat down. I was like, hi. She was sitting there for a couple of seconds, and I was like, I have to say something to her. So I was like, Taylor, you're so gorgeous. And she looked at me and she went, thanks, buddy. In that moment, my heart plummeted into my stomach. I like barely even paid attention to like what she was doing for us, because she was sitting right in front of me and I just could not stop staring at her. She just like spoke directly to me, like looked in my eyes and said words to me. So after she did that, she went back to like her big chair and she started playing the album for us. The album is absolutely incredible. I can't talk about anything to do with the album, but it is insane, and I definitely have one song that is my favorite by an absolute landslide, and there is one song that made everybody cry their eyes out because it's just so cute and amazing. After we were done listening to the album, she went and got her makeup touched up, and we all kind of just like went to the bathroom and like got stuff to drink. Had us all in like this one room, and they had Taylor back in that room that we did the listening session in, and they had people line up in like small groups, and then they were sending like people and their plus ones into the room to like meet Taylor and talk to her and get their picture done. First they brought in people who had to like leave early, like if they had to work tomorrow or like if they had to go catch a train, because we did go a little later than they had planned, like they had told us in our email, which is totally fine. We were all sitting in that room, but then my mom and I were getting like a little warm, and like there was a lot of people because there was like 100 people there. So we went into like this other room that had like some windows open, like just to kind of get some air, and Scott Swift was in there. We started talking to him, and he took my mom and I out on like one of her terraces. She has many, but we went out there and we were hanging out with Scott for like 20 minutes, like just having like casual conversations. Like he asked where we were from and what our names were, so we told him. I was like I'm Taylor, like my mom and I drove from like around Toronto area, and he literally was like, oh yeah, no, like I was talking to Taylor and she had mentioned that you guys were coming. And I don't have any words. I don't have any words for that. So that was amazing. Her dad is such a sweetheart and like so easy to talk to, like just having like the most casual conversations with him outside, and he was so sweet to everyone. We went back into the house, and the group who they had brought in lined up first to meet Taylor was just finishing up, and there was a woman in there. I'm not sure what her name was, but she just kind of looked at me and my mom. She was like, oh, are you guys like supposed to be in this group? And mom was just like, yeah, sure. So she told us to go stand by the doorway, and because the first group was finishing, there was like nobody else like left in line, so we were gonna be next to go in and meet Taylor. So there's a bunch of people in the room with Taylor. Tree was there, her publicist. There was a couple of people from Taylor Nation, and then someone was like taking our pictures. So they told me to come in, and I went in. I brought my mom in with me, and she kind of just stood off to the side. Like I went to talk to Taylor by myself first, and I walked up to her, and she looked at me, and she went, oh my god, like you're so cute and delicate, like look at you, you're like a dainty little ballerina. I don't even remember that part of the conversation. Like my mom told me afterwards, because I was walking up to her and my brain was just in a million different places. I was like, I'm walking up to Taylor Swift right now. So that was incredible. And when I got up to her, I just kind of hugged her and I looked at her and I was like, I love you so much. I did get to show her one of my other tattoos. For anyone who doesn't know, I got a paper airplane tattoo a year ago, and Taylor does follow me on Tumblr, so I posted a picture of that and kind of like just like a paragraph about like why I got it and like how much the song means to me, because it is one of my favorite Taylor songs of all time. Back in February, she actually saw the post on Tumblr and messaged me about it. So I told her about that. I was kind of like, oh, like you messaged me about the paper airplane tattoo I have on my ankle, like back at the beginning of the year. And I was like, I wanted to show you, like I actually got another one. I don't know if you can see here, but it's another one of my favorite songs of hers. It's Long Live. So I have that on my wrist, and I really wanted to show it to her because she hasn't seen it online or anything yet. So I showed it to her and she absolutely loved it. She actually like grabbed my hand and asked to see it like 3 more times, and like she was holding it right up to her face and like touching it and looking at it, and I was dying, and it was just a whole thing. We did talk about more stuff that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. It's still like all really surreal to me. I probably should have waited a little bit longer to make this video. But she asked what I wanted our post to be, like for our picture, because she'll do like the most creative things with her fans when they're getting pictures done with her. And I literally looked at her and I was like, please just hug me. And she hugged me. For anyone who's seen my picture, she like literally engulfed me into her, and I did not want her to ever let go. Like, please never let go. After we got that picture, she like called my mom over, and I got a couple pictures with my mom and Taylor. Just because the first one, I don't know, the first one, like it looks fine to me, but the girl who's taking our picture wanted to take another one. The lighting was a little better in the second one, so maybe that's why. I hugged her a bunch more times, and then she asked my mom, and she was like, do you want to get a picture, like just me and you? And I was like, she's not gonna say no. So my mom went and got a picture with her, and I went back over to Taylor and talked to her a little bit more and gave her another hug and told her how much I love her and how happy I was that she had me. And then we had to go. It was super sad. But on our way out, they gave us these gift bags, which I'll go grab mine. Okay, so I'm not sure if I even have everything together here, because I do have mine and both my mom's as well. So I'm not sure if everything's in one or if one's missing some stuff. So in the bag, which is, you can see it here, it's like It says Rep on it, and it has Taylor Swift. It's just like a cloth bag, but it's actually like really, really sturdy and good. Like good quality, I guess. But we got these shirts, which I do have it in another cut. It's just the album cover, and it's actually a large, so I wore it on the way home as like a dress, just because it wasn't feeling alive yesterday morning. And we got, this is probably one of my favorite things in it, but it's this little, it's like a snake keychain that says Taylor Swift on it. And then the London people got one too, like who were at the first session, and there said, at least it's either said London or United Kingdom. I think it said London on it, like right here, and ours says Watch Hill, because that's where she lives in Rhode Island. Oh yes, my mom's shirt. This might be my mom's bag. We got this hat. It says Rep on it, which I didn't want to buy it online because it is for sale in her store. So I actually made my own a couple weeks ago, and it took me like 15 hours. And then I got this one anyway. So that's nice. Yeah, I don't have anything else in this bag, but the stuff must be in my other bag. But we got these, like, they're like big oval stickers that say Rep on them. And like I have my wristbands still, so I'm gonna be able to do something really cute with those. So people have been really confused about like not so much my friends who are like fans of Taylor, but people, like just kind of random people, are really confused about how this happened. Basically, Taylor did the same thing for 1989. She has an account on a app, kind of like social media website called Tumblr, and she uses it just for fans. Like she only connects with fans on there. She follows over 5,000 of us. So she goes on there, she likes people's posts, and she comments on people's posts, and that's actually the site that I was talking about, how she had messaged me about my tattoo at the beginning of the year. For about a year or so, Taylor has been looking for fans, like on the internet, like fans that she knows from online, and sending their names and information to Taylor Nation, which is her management team, who are the people who messaged me, and had them get people together and kind of find out where they live, find out their information, so that way we'd be invited to the right session, because she has one at all of her houses. So yeah, that's basically how it happened. People are really confused about that, but it's not something that you can like sign up for or pay for or anything like that. Like, she picked us all. I could be wrong, but just, I believe she found 50 fans for each session, because everyone was allowed to bring a +1. So there's 100 people, so I'm assuming she picked 50, and then plus everyone had a +1. So I think that's where the 100 people came from, which I obviously brought my mom. It was overall such an amazing experience. We weren't allowed to tell anybody we were invited to the session, just because they didn't want word getting out like amongst fans and stuff. So no, absolutely, like, no one was supposed to know. No one was supposed to know. I bumped into a really good friend actually at the session. I had no idea she was going. She didn't know I was going. She said she kind of had an idea, but that was amazing. Like, that was incredible. It was such a perfect way to meet someone. Everybody that was there was so nice. Like, it was such an incredible experience. The atmosphere was amazing. Like, I've never been in like such a big group of happier people. So thankful that Taylor does all of this stuff for us, because she doesn't have to. She's such an amazing woman. She had us all in her home and ordered us food and cooked for us and played us her album. Like, she trusts us enough to play us all of her music, which she cares about so much. Her family's incredible. Like I said, I was hanging out with Scott for like 20 minutes. Her mom's an absolute angel. Her brother was there. He's hilarious, and I wouldn't change this experience for the world. Like, it was hands down the happiest day of my life. Thank you so much to Taylor and Taylor Nation, and everybody's been so kind to me and said such kind things. I'm so happy that this finally happened, and I'm so happy it happened this way. And I just wanted to share with everybody my experience meeting Taylor at the Reputation Secret Sessions in Rhode Island. Thank you so much for listening to me talk.